All right, welcome everyone to Budget Breakdown. This is the podcast where we get to know our guests not by them introducing themselves, but instead looking at their numbers. So we get to look at their budget, their line items, their financial priorities, and try to guess kind of who they are based on those things. So we have a guest here with us today. Guest, I'll let you say hi, but don't give us too much information because we don't want to know too much about you right now.
All right. Hi. Happy to be here.
All right, so we know that you can say hi and that you're happy to be here. So those are our first clues. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. I guess I should introduce myself first. My name is Zach Welchel. I'm the founder of MyBudgetCoach, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. So I've got your budget pulled up here, and this is going to be a fun one. I'm very excited about your budget. So let's just start by talking about these category groups. It looks like you've got maybe a dozen or so category groups here. The first one is called Serenity. So off the bat, we got Serenity, Engine Room. Foodstuffs are problematic. So it looks like you have a lot of fun with your budget. So I'm curious, how did you pick these category groups and what do they mean?
Great question. So they're grouped by kind of type of expense, right? Food or vehicles or kids or things like that. But to get my husband interested in the budget, I named them after our favorite TV show called Firefly, which is,
Nice.
if you know, you know, and if you don't, I'm sorry, and go watch it. But it's a space western, right? They're outlaws, space in the future. And so each of the category groups and some of the categories within the groups are named using inspiration from that show, whether it's a famous quote or a character. Serenity is their spaceship that they live on, and that's the
Okay.
housing category, right? So
Okay.
that's their
Awesome.
home and that's my home. And Serenity sounds like a nice, calm, happy place to live. So
It really does. It sets a good tone.
yeah,
So I'm curious, are you a fan of just the show or are you a fan of the movie as well?
all of the above. Also,
Okay.
anything that those actors do after that show, also good.
Okay, so this is like your guys' like core thing. Like you guys love this.
It was a formative when we were dating. Like in college, we watched it together.
That's cool.
So yeah, we haven't rewatched in a while, but it was a formative part of our relationship. So
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I love that you've incorporated it into your budget. So I guess let's start with the first category group, which is Serenity. And you said these are things about your house. So it looks like your first line item is your mortgage in here, and that's at 1780.30
yep,
per month. I'm curious. I guess you bought a house. You own a house. You have a mortgage.
we own a house, have a mortgage, and it is a big one. And I love the house, don't love the mortgage.
Okay, okay. Property taxes. So you set aside property taxes separately. So do you not have them escrowed inside your mortgage
Yeah,
then?
they're not escrowed. We did the math years ago, and the amount that we have to pay out monthly to pay to the mortgage company when they escrow for us is a lot higher than the amount that we would have to set aside monthly to pay the things on time when they're due.
Interesting.
So
Is that
because
just because they're
because the
bad
mortgage
at?
company needs to have a cushion in the account or they do the math wrong or whatever.
Got it.
And so by
Okay.
doing it
Yeah.
ourselves, our monthly savings rate is lower than what we would have to send them. And I
Okay.
get to
So you
earn
said
money on it in my savings account in the meantime.
good for you. So you set aside it looks like $1,000 every month for property
It's
taxes.
ridiculous.
That's a
I live
lot.
in a state with very high property taxes because we have minimal other taxes.
Okay. Okay. So that's another clue. You
That
live
is,
in a
that's
high
a
property
big
tax
clue. High
state.
property tax
Okay.
state. Uh,
All right. So home insurance. It looks like you set aside $100 per month. So I guess yeah, since it's not escrowed, you pay your insurance and your taxes
right.
separately.
But we do that. That one's annual. Um,
Okay.
so because we get a much better deal by paying it annually. But I set
Okay.
aside monthly for it. And that's a rounded up number. Usually when we come to renew, like I add another, 10-15% on what we paid last year so that when we come to renew, I'm not shocked when they raise our rates.
Got it. Got it. That's good to prepare for the disappointment that is
Exactly.
insurance.
Yeah, it's always.
Okay, cool. Next up, we've got some bills. So we've got your electric, your heat, your septic, your water, your trash service. The electric is 300. The heat is 150. Septic is 1390. Water is 15, and trash service is 25. So septic tells me you probably live a little bit outside of a city, maybe.
Yeah, well,
I'm
actually,
curious.
all of those past electric are all self-contained utilities. Our heat is a propane tank in the basement, or a
Wow.
natural gas or oil tank in the basement, propane tank outside, because don't put gas in your house. Um,
Okay.
our septic is septic. Our water is a well. Um, trash service is trash service. That's always exterior. But I've lived in places before where trash service was part of your property taxes, right? It was a town authorized or town,
Wow. So they don't even give you that. They give you really high property taxes and they make
and
you
they
pay for trash
still,
separately.
and wait till you get to the bottom. We also pay for our snow plowing, um, but yeah, all of those. So heat and septic and water are not monthly bills. Those are places where
Okay.
I'm saving up for when we need them. Like the
So
heat.
what do you?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, the heat comes. There's a tank in the basement, and they refill it um, whenever they think it's getting low, based on like what the weather's been like and things like that. So in the winter, it gets refilled every month, month and a half, and then the rest of the year, probably from like March to November, gets filled once over that time period, and then it's a couple hundred each time
Interesting.
they fill it.
Interesting. Okay. And then the water. I'm curious if it's a well. Like, what is the cost
Why
there?
am I paying anything for my water? There's
Yeah.
a water filtration system in our basement. So the
Got
well
it.
brings
Okay.
it up, but then the previous homeowners put it in. So not all well people have that. But we have to put salt in this bin for like softening the water. And there's like a UV light that has to get replaced once a year. It's like $100.
Got it. And I guess that just kind of
So
kills
the,
any
the
germs or
50 dollars or
whatever.
whatever in there covers both those things when they come up. But it's the salt is every few months. The light is once a year. Like it's not a lot lower than a water bill for actual water.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, the last two categories we got here are cargo and matters to people on the rim. So cargo is $50 and matters to people on the rim is $20. And I'm very curious what these are. These must be on
Yeah.
theme.
These are on theme. These are both my household goods categories essentially. Um, Cargo is like durable goods, right? If we buy, a lamp or pots for the kitchen or whatever. And then matters to people on the rim. So in the show, the rim is like the outer planet. It's farther away from the central part of the galaxy. And so it's harder for them to get basic supplies. And so this is
Okay.
things like toilet paper and batteries and shampoo that I imagine the people in the rim would have a hard time getting. And uh, and we need all of the time.
That's awesome. I imagine you like buying something very obscure and then you and your husband having an argument over whether that's something that would be actually hard for people on the rim to procure or not.
Exactly. It's a very important to categorize things carefully based on future
Yes.
hypothetical worlds.
Yes, yes. Awesome. Okay, cool. So that's your Serenity category group. So let's move on down. We've got the engine room category group next, and that's internet, cell service, and streaming services. So internet, you've got at $59.99. Cell service, you got 45, and streaming services at 39.74. So I'm trying to think if I could guess what streaming services you have based on that,
Based
right?
on the
But
price.
probably not going to try.
Yeah. Well, and it varies sometimes. But it's Netflix, Disney, and then assorted like the other kind of $5 or so kind of fluctuates between whichever one we're watching at the moment.
Yeah, there are so many streaming services. We tried to watch Anne of Green Gables with the children this past week,
Yes,
and there's like an exclusive like gazebo.tv or something. It's like an exclusive streaming service for like period old films like that or something.
that's
So
hilarious. Yeah, so every once in a while we'll do a new one for a month or two and then switch it off and get a different one. But always Netflix and
nice.
Disney.
Okay, okay,
'Cause,
cool. And then internet, do you have anything like special like if you're kind of outside of the city or is it just normal?
no, I'm actually We just recently we switched internet and we got fiber, which was amazing to me. Living where we do, I was like,
Wow.
"How is this an option?" It's a brand new company that does not not widely broadly available. But so we finally have choices in our internet provider, which worked out perfectly because my previous provider, we ran out of promo rate and we had to shop around, and there was actually shopping around to do. So that was great. Yeah,
That's great. So,
fiber internet
it,
out in the boonies.
are you one of those people that like it takes advantage of promos and then switches services like once that's out? Like it seems like you're
Oh
pretty
yeah.
savvy at those things.
I mean, usually I just call them up and complain, and then they just give me the promo rate again, so I don't have to switch. But
Nice.
I'm open to switching. Although the cell service was a pain to switch this last time because yeah.
Okay. Are you on like a family plan or like what do you guys do there to try
Well,
to
so
save?
we had our cell phone with our internet company that then jacked up our rates, so we had to switch our cell phones away. We switched them to the new internet company, who is not good at cell service yet. So then we had to switch them again, all within this last summer. And
Yeah, that doesn't sound
it
fun.
was not fun. And then they wouldn't release my husband's phone number, and it was a whole thing. So
Yeah, that's
I
not
am
fun.
now not going to switch ever again.
Okay.
But we do try to do, because we don't use very many gigs, we try not to get drawn in by the unlimited data nonsense, because both of us are on
Okay.
Wi-Fi most of the time. And so we
Okay. So that's another hint. You guys are close to Wi-Fi. That's a hint
Yep,
perhaps.
we are. And
Yeah.
so yeah,
All right.
so we try to do like by the gig and just to get like 3 or 5 gigs a month each and pay it that way. And that's the cost.
Cool. Okay, cool. Next up, we've got foodstuffs are problematic. So that's a category group, and I'm assuming this has got to be something on theme as well.
This
This
is
is a
on
line from the show.
Yeah, there's a scene in the show where one of the characters is eating some sort of food on a stick, like it's a fishing pole. So it's like, did you
Okay.
ever play that game with the donuts on a string at like a fair when you were a kid and you try to eat the donut
Yeah.
off the string? It's like that.
Yeah.
And she makes a comment that it's problematic. And
Okay.
food is problematic because it's expensive. So I thought it was appropriate.
It is indeed. Okay, so you've got groceries at $1,200 a month. You've got Mother's Milk
Also
at
on
work
theme.
food. Okay, which is $80 a month, and then
Yep.
BAU, which is $200 a month. So I'm curious what this breakdown is.
So groceries are groceries. That's obvious.
Yep.
Mother's Milk is also from the show. Think ancient Egypt, where they would feed them like beer with bread in it, right? So they get all the
Okay.
calories and also a little bit drunk.
Okay.
There's a planet in the show where they feed them fortified alcohol as their to keep the workers placid.
Okay.
So we use that for at work food because that's what they feed the workers.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So that's the vending machine at work and things like that. And then Bao is like special treats food. So in futuristic Firefly Land, Chinese is the other language that kind of survived the future, right? So
Huh.
mostly it's in
Okay.
English, but they swear in Chinese, and then so there's some phrases. So Bao is like they mostly eat just like basic like protein bar kind of thing, and then Bao is like actual food.
Got it. So this is
And
like
so this
eating
is
out
like
essentially.
restaurants. This is takeout. This is somebody else has made yummy food, and I didn't have to buy groceries.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so your eating out is pretty low for the month. Then you have $200 a month. So you guys are pretty good about that.
Yes, and actually, this is high for us.
Okay.
When our kids were smaller, we were at like $40 a month for eating out. But
Whoa.
that was also like
Wow.
pre-pandemic when prices were a little bit lower.
Sure.
But one of the things that helped us is we went through a period of time when we only had one car as a family,
Okay.
and my husband was working second shift, so he was gone from like 3 to midnight, and I could not go anywhere during that time because he had
Yeah, that
the
would
car.
really.
And so you cannot go out to eat if you cannot go out.
Yeah,
And
that
it
would
was also
help.
like pre-pandemic, like Uber Eats and stuff were not really a huge thing yet. right, at that time period. You could get pizza delivered, and you could sometimes get like Chinese food delivered, but like we just didn't. So it made it easy to build a family culture where we don't do a lot of eating out.
Yeah, that's great.
But food has gotten more expensive, and one of my kids is particularly interested in restaurant foods, so we're upping the budget a little bit.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it sounds like you have kids as well. Multiple. I heard a plural in
We did.
there.
There was a
So
plural in there.
okay. All right, so the next
Speaking
category
of
group is
kids,
find a crew. So I guess your crew might be your children then.
yeah,
We've got classes with all sorts of emojis in here for 200. We've got outings, which currently has 0 in it. We have education materials, $50 a month. Digital subscriptions, $10 a month. Kids clothing, $75 a month. And kids pets at $25 a month.
yep. Yeah. So there's a phrase in the show that's find a crew, find a job, keep flying. So that's the next
Okay.
few category groups is following that kind of tagline from the show. It's like in the intro thing, right? That's what you need to do as a pirate outlaw in in space. So the crew, so classes, ninja, not ninja, karate. It looks like a ninja to me. The guy doing a flip. And voice lessons and theater are the 3 that are happening right now in our lives. And this one is interesting because the payment cycles for those things are all very different. And so figuring out what I should be putting in there per month to make sure I have what I need when I need it is difficult. Because right now we have 3 different plays starting over the between September and October. So I have to pay 3 semester-long theater fees within a month and a half. And then I don't have to pay anything again until like February for any theater, anything. So, but then there's other things that are monthly or weekly. And
Have you thought about breaking these out into like separate line items so you can easier track it, or you just like it having it together?
I have considered it, but it changes often enough that then I feel like I'd have a bunch of categories, If I make a category
Sure.
every time a kid tries a new activity,
Sure.
there would be too many. So if these things persist for like a year, then I might, give them their own.
Okay, so your kids, it sounds like they might be in that stage where they're really like exploring and trying different things and trying to figure out what might stick for the long haul.
Yes. And these ones, the current things have stuck for a little while, but we still have a lot of maybe I want to try aerial silks. Maybe I want to try piano. Maybe I want to try soccer or baseball. So yeah, we're trying lots of things. The current set of things seems pretty solid, but I think there's still some other testing things out to do.
Okay, aerial silks is an option for your children where you
Yeah,
live?
that is a thing.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Okay.
I know. Very cool. I could not do it. And actually, she changed her mind. She does not want to try it now. But it was for a little while we were looking.
Okay. That's cool.
Outings has $0 in it right now because we have been using library passes to go to different museums and things. So a lot of times you can go to your library and they will give you a pass that's either free admission for a certain number of people or half off to various local museums and things. And we just did a big aquarium visit that was only half off last month. So now I'm trying to do free things next month because half off the aquarium is still a lot of
fun. Sure. Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. And yeah, the other stuff is educational homeschool. Here's a clue. So
Ooh,
educational materials is anything from books to paper to printer ink to math manipulatives or science kits or whatever. It's lower right now than I wish it was, but we're trying to make use of our library and other free resources because coming up as they get older, there's going to be more expensive tools. So I'm trying to keep it low at the moment and then try to build it up. Digital subscriptions is in that same kind of world of we'll subscribe to a learning website for a little while and then switch to another one and then use a free one. And so that's a lot of that kind of stuff as well.
I'm curious with the homeschooling, do you follow do you have like a set purchased curriculum that you use and so you know the fixed cost of it, or are you kind of building this kind of yourself with different tools that you put together?
We build it ourselves with different tools depending on what they're learning at any particular moment. So I don't know the cost, which is challenging.
Sure.
But I'm also have a lot more control over the cost. In
Yes,
seasons
that's
like
true.
right now where I've just paid a bunch of theater fees, then I buy less extra stuff. And then in the winter, when there's fewer activities, I might buy more, do at home science stuff or whatever. Yeah. Clothing, pet. Oh, kids' pets. We've gone through a couple of different pets, or not even getting tadpoles from the pond and raising them into frogs and putting them back, right? But then you need
Okay.
a tank and some food, right? So it's really anything that's not a family pet is in there. But
Got it. Okay.
recently, we've adopted a pair of cats, and so that's where I'm calling them the kids' pets, so that they're not because there they are, and then we'll see what happens. Who actually
Okay.
bonds with the cat?
Yes, classic. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next category group here, which is the find a job. So, like you said, there was the find a crew, find a job, keep flying. So, I guess this is the middle part of
The
that.
middle part
So,
of that.
here we've got reimbursable, we've got allowance holding, and then we've got thing one, thing two, and thing three. And there's little children emojis there. So, I'm assuming that's
Those are the
something
children.
to do with the children. So,
Yes. Although I
do they
do need
work?
to
Do they
update
work the
those. I
fields?
need to update those emojis. One of them's a baby in the emoji, and he's not in real life. So reimbursable is really just anything that is coming in and going out and has nothing to do with me. My brother gifted us a PlayStation a while ago and sometimes accidentally buys things on his PlayStation, but uses my card that's attached to the PlayStation that he gave us. And then he sends them back,
Okay,
right? Random
nice.
things. And it just lives there because I don't know where else that category should live. So there it is. And then allowance holding. So I budget monthly, but I want my children to receive allowance weekly. So I budget
Okay,
at the beginning of the month to the allowance holding category, and then I can distribute from there each week to their individual categories. And I actually have
got it.
that set up
Okay.
in my budget so it's automated. There's a repeating transaction that moves the money for me
Oh, nice.
from one category to the other. And so it goes into the thing one, thing two, thing three. And then later on, you'll find there's a similar thing one, thing two, thing three giving categories. So when they get their allowance, part of it goes into their category for spending and part of it goes into their giving category. And then when holidays come up, they can buy gifts for me.
Nice,
I only
nice.
make them buy gifts for people who live in our house.
Okay, okay.
So, and we help them
Um,
buy gifts for outside family and birthday parties and stuff.
okay, so I'm curious, it sounds like you include your kids in your budgeting experience. So what does that look like? Do they have access to this in somehow themselves? Are they always asking you what their numbers are? How do you incorporate kids into your budgeting essentially?
They're always asking me because I want them to learn to budget. I want them to have the experience of knowing that money is finite and knowing that if you want to buy something, you have to have money for it, and then you buy it, right?
Yep.
But I also don't want to be constantly having cash laying around that they're going to lose or moving money between accounts or anything like that. The money stays in my bank account and the budget tracks how much of that money is theirs. And so, anyway, and then there's a widget on my phone so I can pull up just their categories. So they
Nice.
come up and
Okay.
ask, or they know the code on my phone. They can open the phone and check themselves.
Nice.
But it's also, the other reason I do it this way is most of their purchases are digital, right? Whether they're buying a video game or if they're ordering something from Amazon, they don't do a lot of purchasing in person. And so I don't it's way easier if I'm spending the money digitally because they can't, they're children.
Sure.
If I can just have it go out of their category in the budget. So it works
Nice.
pretty good. And they even like
Cool.
when they were smaller, still, but when they were smaller, it was really nice because we would practice the idea of like, okay, the game I want is $30. How many weeks do I have to wait to buy that game?
Love it.
And we get to build in some math.
Love it. That's awesome. Yeah, my 4-year-old is very curious about math, and I think it's all because we've been trying to teach him how to budget. And so like
Yeah.
adding numbers becomes very crucial when you want to buy that $10 thing at Walmart and you've got to save up for it. So
Well, and
that's
even
great.
when they were super small, we started budgeting when my oldest two were 5 and 3, and with this kind of a tool. And so at that 3-year-old age, it was really just like at Target, what number is bigger, right? I have
Yeah.
$5 in my budget. This thing says 6 on it. Which number
Is
is
that
bigger?
bigger or
Is that bigger or
yeah.
smaller? Like it's very basic math things. Um, and then now, like my oldest, both of them can calculate tips, right? So like
It's
all the
great.
math when you're budgeting. They don't do a lot of tipping, but
That's
I
great.
make them calculate my tips.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to the keep flying. Okay, so here we've got the New York Times games at $3.33 per month. We've got MLB TV at $12.50, adult clothing at $50, spending money at $40, Sanity at $20, Kickstarter is $50, coaching expenses is $5, generosity at $10, and Domino, a cat,
That's
at
a dog.
$30.
That's a dog
Oh, a
emoji.
dog.
It's just very small.
Sorry.
Emojis are tricky.
Yeah, the emojis are tricky. Okay.
Yeah.
So some of these are kind of self-explanatory, but I'll let you kind of pick a few that you want to dive in and share anything about.
Yeah. So keep flying is the end of that phrase, right? And this is all of our like adult joy kind of items, right? New York Times games, we do the crossword together daily on the
Nice.
iPad app. We are at a streak now of 400 something days in a row.
Wow. Well
I
done.
know. So we pay the annual fee to have the games app so that we can do the crossword.
Sure.
And yeah, anyway, my husband watches baseball, so we subscribe to MLB TV, but that's another one we pay annually because it's cheaper. We save up each
Okay.
month, and then because there's still baseball now, but soon there
Uh,
won't be. I think. I don't know. It's hard to remember when all the sports ball is.
I know that the football sports ball has started, so I'm
Yes,
assuming that means the baseball sports ball will end soon.
probably. I think it's a thing. Anyway, so spending money and Kickstarter are basically the set. Like spending money is me, and then Kickstarter is my husband, because that's really all he spends money on is board games and Kickstarter.
Love it.
He enjoys board games quite a bit. There are many shelves full of board games in my home. But he only gets $50 a month, so it takes a while in order to buy a board game. Domino is the dog. Domino's the dog, 15 and a half, this dog. She is very
Wow.
old.
Okay.
And she has been the most inexpensive pet in the world. And I suspect that is not going to continue for too much longer. That as she gets older, she's going to have more expenses. So I'm trying to build that category up for her so we can help her out in her old age.
Yeah. Um, Cool. Yeah, Kickstarter, that's awesome.
Yes.
I'm a big board game fan as well. But I don't really do the Kickstarter board games too often. I've got a friend who does. He always brings a new Kickstarter game and we play it.
Yes.
So
Well, we already
that's
own
cool.
all of the not Kickstarter games, is the vibe that I get from.
Got it. So you've like burned through all the
We
mainstream. So
already have all the mainstream. I mean, we don't really
you've
have a
got
lot of mainstream stuff, but yeah.
sure.
And,
So you've got
and
nowhere else to go.
he wants board games for gifts. So if there are games that are readily available out in the world, he will ask for those for gifts and then spend his money on the Kickstarter ones.
Nice.
Which kind of makes sense, I guess.
All right. Our next category group here is shuttles. And this is things like fuel at $200 a month, parking and tolls at $80 a month, Cooper registration at $11.67, Odyssey registration at $17.92, and car insurance at $82.48. So looks to be all of your transportation costs.
Yep, pretty much. Those are shuttle in the show. They have shuttles on their ship that they fly around to go do things.
Okay.
Our fuel costs have gone crazy. My husband got a new job that is further away. His commute got longer. And even though he drives the Mini Cooper, which is very small, it's still a lot of gas. So,
yeah.
and but the parking and tolls, so that $80 a month is also due to his commute. We used to be spending, less than $20 a month, even though there is one toll road that's like 50 cents on our, like, not daily, but go through it with some regularity, my route.
Okay.
But we learned a couple months into his new job that tolls are reimbursable from his employer.
Heyo.
I know. So I budget the $80 a month, but then we get it back from the employer. But I budget it ahead of time, and then, because who knows how long that's going to take to submit. And
All right. So you live in one of those states that charges you to drive on their roads.
I
So
do.
that's a clue. That's a clue as well. My state doesn't do that very much. So
Yes, we like to charge people to drive on the roads, and in particular, the road that he drives to go to work is one of the higher
yeah, they just like
tolls.
picked that one.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that one is a high toll. That
Now I'm curious.
it's you can drive through our state quite quickly
Okay.
by driving along this
Okay.
road. So we would like to collect tolls from the people that are passing through.
Got it.
And so there's a toll booth, and he happens to have to drive that same road to get to his work.
Okay. So your state is very narrow at some point, I'm gathering
Yes,
as well.
it's very narrow at some point.
I feel like we might be at the point where discerning listeners might be able to put all this all together, but we'll see.
Our location has some distinctive features that impact the budget, for sure.
Yeah, the aerial silks might be, that's pretty strong too.
Yeah.
Aerial silks, yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
Anything else on here that's worth talking about, or do you want to go ahead and...
Here's another clue for the discerning listener. Both of the car registrations we just paid last month.
Okay.
Because in our state, they are paid in your birthday month. And we both have August birthdays. So,
for
the discerning listener, car registration was just due annually last month on our birthday.
Okay. Well, happy birthday to you both then.
Good month.
Okay, cool. So the next category group here is it's called Earth That Was, and in it says seasonal there as well. So you've got things like the Pull Punch Pass for $25 a month, the Fort Foster Pass for $10 a month, snow plowing for $50 a month, HOA, which is due in November and February at $139.67, and lawn and garden at $20 a month. So I'm guessing Earth That Was is celebrating the Earth. Is the Earth dead in this show, or is it still alive?
The Earth is not still alive in this show, but they luckily learned how to terraform the other planets before it went. They don't explain too much about what happened to the Earth, but
okay,
they talk about Earth That Was in historical references, and I figure Earth has seasons, and so I'll put my seasonal stuff in there.
Nice, love it.
Yeah.
So Pull Punch Pass. I guess you guys go swimming.
We do.
What is Fort Foster? Is that a beach?
It's a beach. Yeah, beach and like park, grass, whatever. They only charge you to go in the summertime, so it's a free park most of the year, and then in the summer you have to pay to get in, and then you can swim, which is fun.
All right, snow plowing, $50. Tell me about that one.
So, and that and the HOA right below it are related. We happen to live on one of the few roads in our town that is not a town-owned road. The people who built our small neighborhood apparently made them private roads, which I think was a poor choice on their part, but I was not in charge of that. I just bought the house. So we have an HOA, and the HOA, the only reason we have an HOA is for road maintenance. And it's any road repairs that happen, and then it's also paying for plowing in the wintertime, because our roads do not get plowed by the town. We have to hire a plow company. So
what are the...
Go ahead.
I'm curious, what are the perks of that? Because like the downside is like the city doesn't do like those services, but what are the perks? Like, why would you want to have... Okay.
I honestly, I have no idea what the perks are, and we have been trying lately as an HOA to get the town to just buy our road or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you pay less taxes because of that? Like,
no,
because it's not a...
You would think. This is the other thing, is there's people at the state level who are fighting to say if you live on a private road, your property taxes should be adjusted accordingly. And that hasn't happened yet either. There are no perks.
Interesting.
This is why it was a poor choice. I don't know why they decided to do that.
Huh. Okay.
So we pay whatever amount of money to the HOA annually, and the HOA uses that money to pay the snowplow company. But that's just to plow the roads. And then the snow plowing is for our own driveway. We can either
Right.
pay the same company the HOA hires to plow our driveway, or we can hire somebody else. I do not like shoveling snow.
Don't you have thing 1, thing 2, and thing 3 though? Aren't they?
I do, but they are not awake in time to clear the driveway to get
Got
to
it.
work.
Got it.
See, because we homeschool so we can sleep in.
Nice. Love it.
They do the path to the door and stuff like that. They clear the pedestrian areas.
Nice. Nice.
But they don't do the driveway. And the last couple of winters, it's not been too bad. The company the HOA uses charges a flat fee for the winter, regardless of how much it snows. And then they'll plow anytime it snows.
Oh, okay.
Other people will charge a per storm fee, and then they charge you just anytime they have to come out. And I've done the math the last 2 years, and I come out ahead on a per storm fee, but it's a risk, right? Because if there's a lot of storms, then you might end up paying more than you did with the flat fee. But the last couple of years it's worked out for me, so.
Could you run like historical data on that? Look at like the past 10 or 20 years or whatever? With
yes. The HOA did that, and then for whatever reason did not follow what their own data said. So I used their data and made the other choice.
Your HOA is rather puzzling to me. It seems like they consistently make the wrong choices. Are you involved in the HOA any? Are you gonna form a coup and take over? And
I successfully avoided becoming involved. No, we recently had HOA. There's only 8 houses. It's a very small HOA.
Wow.
And the president moved away, and so we had to elect a new president. And it was a high-risk situation because there's not that many of us. And I avoided it because I do not want that responsibility.
Yeah, the politics must be intense.
Yeah, it's... anyway, so yeah, we pay for snow plowing because I do not like snow plowing. And so far, it's been a good investment. And let's hope that it stays that way.
Nice. All right, well, let's go ahead and move down to the next category group, which is the weird drifting or weird drift in with an apostrophe. So we've got technology at $30, car maintenance and repair at $50, home maintenance at $20, furnace and AC at $50, and appliances and furniture at $50. So I'm guessing the furnace and AC are just like saving up for when you need to replace those eventually, or
repairs.
Or repairs.
And actually, that's another example of self-contained stuff, right? We don't pay heating. Like the furnace is connected to the oil tank in the basement, right? It's all whatever. I mean, everybody's AC is self-contained. But I put it down here instead of up there because it's even less predictable than those expenses. Like our water, like I said, like it's an annual UV light or whatever. But both our furnace and our AC have broken in the last 6 to 8 months. And so they both recently had to have repairs. Luckily, we did not have to replace either one of them, but yeah, they had some expensive repairs. And our furnace is also our water heater, so it's a pretty important part of our house.
All right, well, we've got 3 category groups left here, and they are all interesting names. So I'm going to let you kind of pick and choose some of the categories that you want to talk about in here, but the category groups are called Simon, Niska, and Shindigs. Shindigs, I feel like I can understand that one, but Simon and Niska, I'm curious.
So Simon is the medic on the spaceship. He's the doctor.
Okay.
And so this is all of the doctory things, therapy and medication and dental and speech therapy and all of the stuff, which that category group amounts is weird right now because my husband has a lovely potpourri of brain differences and that are medicated, and I mean therapy, psychiatrist, medication. We got the whole stuff covered. But because of that, we've hit our deductible this year. So
Got it.
those
Okay.
categories don't need funding right now, but also we have an HSA account that is on budget because I like to track what we're spending on, because when we shop around for our insurance, I want to know, how much do we care about the medication coverage versus the specialist visit coverage versus whatever. So I like it broken down.
Okay.
So those categories are getting funded because the HSA gets funding every month. And so that has to be in a medical category. But other than that, I
Yep.
won't be funding them right now because we've met our deductible for the year. Speech therapy is
Okay.
funded very high right now because my son goes to speech therapy at a local university, which doesn't use insurance, and it's way cheaper than private speech therapy. So that is our fee, well-ish. It's on a sliding scale, but 150-ish. I have to look at it again. I'm about to owe for the semester. So I'll
Okay.
pay for the whole semester. And I did not successfully save up for that ahead of time over the summer. So I budgeted all right now. But then we're good for the semester, right? So that's not a monthly. And then theoretically, I start saving up and pay the fee. It's only $150 for a semester. So sometimes
Yeah,
I
I feel
just
like
budget
that's
it all at
really,
once. It's super cheap. Like
yeah,
its
that's great.
maximum is a sliding scale. The high end is 600, which is like
Okay.
$25 an hour, which is crazy to me because
Yeah.
regular private speech therapy is $100 for 30 minutes.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So that one's funded high right now, but it's also like super cheap in the grand scheme of things in my mind. And then Niska is in the show the kind of loan sharky character. There's
Okay.
an issue where the main characters owe him some money and he's a little bit mean about it. And so that's our student loan, which are both at zero right now. We're both in the kind
Okay.
of income-based repayment
Nice.
mess at the moment. It's his are, mine are, I don't know. Because there's a current legal situation where everybody's student loans on the SAVE plan are on hold, on forbearance temporarily, while they sort out whatever nonsense in the courts.
Wow. Okay.
Mine are on $0 because on an income-based repayment plan, that's how much the government thinks we can afford. And I'm going to agree with them on that.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Sounds great.
I'm paying $0 a month, and it counts towards forgiveness. So that
That's awesome.
a handful more years, we'll see if that works out. And then one of our credit cards annual fee.
Okay. Yeah. The Sapphire at only
Sapphire is
$7.92
the
per
only card we
month.
have that has an annual fee, and I got it for travel points purposes, but we do not travel as much as we would like, and so I might downgrade it to something else before the next
Okay.
annual fee. It's not due again until June, so I'm kind of waiting and deciding.
Nice.
But shindigs is, you're right, celebrations, parties, holidays, that kind of thing. There is a shindig. There's a whole episode called Shindig where there's a big party in Firefly. So there's each of the kids' giving categories that we talked about before.
Yep.
Gifts, which is gifts to anyone outside our house for birthdays or special occasions, right? Graduation or whatever. Holidays that are not Christmas, the little emojis, right? Things are Halloween and Valentine's Day and 4th of July, whatever. So buying costumes and candy and fireworks. All the kids' birthdays. And then adult
Nice.
August celebrations. Like I said, we both have August birthdays and our anniversaries in August. So I just do one
Wow. Okay.
category. And then some years we do 3 different things, and some years we do one bigger thing, and we just kind of wait and decide when it happens. And then Christmas, and then travel, which is getting no funding right now because there is none to go around. So we are just not
Life.
traveling at the moment.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's the last category. So we made it all the way through.
We did.
This was super fun. I've never seen somebody break up their budget by a theme like this, and I think like you said that this was a way initially to get your like husband like interested in it, but like it sounds like you guys have really like I don't know owned this, made it your own, made it something that's fun, and I love that. So
Yeah.
well done on that.
Yeah. I mean, getting on the same page with the budget is pretty critical in my experience. And making it not seem scary and bad is an important part of that, especially with my husband's lovely brain cocktail of anxiety and whatever. Um, Making the budget
Sure. Yeah, that's
nice
awesome.
and friendly and humorous helps him not be scared of it.
Love it. Okay. Well, this is the part of the show where you can finally tell us like your name and where you live and what you do and all those things. So you've made it to the end. You get to finally introduce yourself. So go for
Hooray!
it.
I'm Celia. I homeschool my children in New Hampshire, which has
New
that
Hampshire.
tiny
There it
little bit of
is.
seacoast. So you can go from Massachusetts to Maine in like 30 minutes if there's no traffic. Um, but New Hampshire feels strongly that we need to keep our bit of coastline. Um, I teach budgeting with my budget coach as well as other places. I do other kind of financial stuff, right? I've done bookkeeping for a homeschool co-op and that kind of thing. And yeah, I ever since I used to be a teacher. And so transitioning from teaching to stay-at-home parent because teachers do not get paid enough money is how I learned to budget. Because I was like, I need to figure out how to make this work because it doesn't work as a teacher. Like 2 kids in
Yeah.
childcare costs more than teachers make. Even
Yeah, that is
even more
crazy.
than teachers make gross salary, let alone net. Um, and yeah, so I've been freelancing and wearing 10 different hats at a time for the last 12 years. So, and so my
Wow.
kids are 14 and 12 and 8. It wasn't until the 12-year-old came
Okay.
along that I had to leave teaching.
Yeah, that's crazy that like you effectively saved money by stopping working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 12-year-old is overhearing me saying that leaving working was her fault. But yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, we did the math and it shouldn't have worked. My husband was not making enough at the time that we should have been able to handle that, but we didn't really have a choice because me continuing teaching also didn't work. So
Yeah.
we made it work, and budgeting is a huge part of that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys have crafted a life that you want, right? Like
Yeah,
you've got kind of the lifestyle choices you have and all that besides your terrible HOA. Like maybe
yeah,
fix that at some point, but besides that, it sounds like you've crafted a life that works
it's
for you guys,
working.
which is awesome.
Yeah, yep,
Cool. Okay.
awesome.
Well, I usually give, you know, we should mention you are a budget coach yourself, right? So, like, if anybody is listening to this episode and they're interested in starting a budget like Celia's or like, you know, anybody else that keeps a budget, maybe that you've listened to some other episodes as well. Celia is a coach on My Budget Coach. She is an excellent coach. She would love to help you kind of figure out how to make a budget for yourself and your family, probably make it fun. You know, pick a theme that works for you and make it fun so it's not something that's scary. So I'd highly recommend trying it out. There's a 35-day free trial on My Budget Coach. So go ahead and check it out. Try Celia as a coach and see how that goes. Celia, I usually give people kind of one last chance to like words of wisdom, advice, anything that you'd want to say specifically because you are a budget coach. Is there any like word of advice that you'd want to leave with people?
I think the main thing is when you start budgeting, let yourself get obsessed with it. Let yourself get excited about it so that you're using it actively because you're going to see so many more positive results if you're actively in your budget, right? If it's fun and interesting to you. And then when you start seeing the results, then it becomes fun and interesting. So sometimes you just have to fool yourself for a little while. Be like, this is so fun, I love it. And then it becomes fun because you can actually see some results from it. So let yourself
Awesome.
have that moment of hyper focus.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like you guys did that really well. And now it's stuck.
Yep. Yeah, we're we're stuck for life. Cannot not budget.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. And to all our listeners, thanks for listening. And we'll see you all next time.